A very warm welcome to StudyIQ, my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good. Today is 20th August 2020, and I would like to start today's discussion with this quote by Confucius. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall, bouncing back. Right? We need to bounce back. There is no other way. We cannot stay there. And I know that falling down is painful. When we face defeat, it's very hard, right? Our dreams are crushed and everything, but still remember that you have to bounce back because we have not reached there yet. With this, dear friends, StudyIQ team has designed a smart course. This smart course is for UPSC IAS examination. It covers your pre as well as mains examination, and to find out more about it, all you have to do is download our mobile application. Till 31st August 2020, EMI offer is also going on, so make the most out of it. On our table, we have so many articles to go through. All of them are very interesting, very important for your examination. We have total 7 articles. So let's quickly crack on. And you can download the PDF of today's lecture from my Telegram channel, and you can follow me on Facebook as well. Now, dear friends, the first one is very interesting article, Stuck in the Rain. This one is from Pioneer. We find this thing every year in every monsoon season. We find this thing, like when I say find this thing, I'm talking about flood in our city. Mumbai, Gurugram, Delhi, Bengaluru, Chennai, I can go on and on. Even small cities like Rajkot, Ahmedabad and other cities in northeast, you find that flood is something that is, city floods are something, these days they are very common. There are so many reasons behind it. Too much of population, too much of concrete jungle, lack of infrastructure development, lack of planning, but there are some natural causes as well. I have a very good example of Mumbai. I will share it with you in a minute, but before that, we have to keep this thing in mind that many a times we find that rainfall is also too much in a very short period of time. Recently, we saw some picture of Gurugram. Now, Gurugram is one of the latest city, or the portion of Gurugram. This IT park is very latest. You find this new buildings over there, and we find so many pictures are preferring it for their shooting location. Early on, they used to go to Kuala Lumpur and Dubai and other places, but now they find this sort of buildings, like good buildings, new buildings, clean area in Gurugram. But the recent picture was about a car that was nearly submerged in this pool of flood and brown, dirty water. So this reminds us, or this forces us to ask this question, that are we going in a right direction when it comes to planning our city? Unexpectedly in Jaipur, the iconic Pink City area has been in waist-deep water as well. The same visual gets repeated in other major Indian cities, as I just told you. And this is a very old story that is getting repeated every year, and everyone is really fed up of this old story repeating itself again and again. Now, as I told you that there are a few natural reasons as well, and there are a few man-made reasons too. I still remember very clearly, but I'm not sure about whether it took place in 2015 or 16. But I remember the overall incident, but because I did analysis of that thing back in 2015-16, that was more for personal reason, It's for I did it for myself. So I did a proper analysis of Mumbai floods. And I'm talking about the biggest one, right? So far, there was a huge flood in 2015 or 16, can't remember. But the main point is that as far as natural reasons are concerned, first one was that too much of rainfall in a very short period of time. This was one main reason. Second reason was high tide. So when you have high tide, of course, the water in the city will not find it, it becomes nearly impossible for the water to go and merge with the sea water because of high tide. So in fact, more water came in the city because of this high tide. So this were two natural reasons. Third one was, of course, in lack of infrastructure and too much of concrete jungle and lack of proper gutter or sewage system. And fourth one was plastic. Yes, plastic. So many pipes were blocked because of this plastic and other sort of stuffs, this cloggy stuff. So it's not just a man-made reason, it's not just a natural reason, it is mix of both. So what is the best way out of it? Of course, better planning and infrastructure development. But with that, I would like to add a few things here in this editorial. I think we need a real-time weather reporting system. I think we are still not used to with it. Very few people they follow this day-to-day weather report. This is something that you find very common in England, because they say that www in England, I don't want to go into www, their local saying, but the thing is that this British weather is very, erratic. You never know. In the morning time, you find sunshine, and in the afternoon time, you have downpour. So over there, people are, it's part of their culture. They are used to with it. They follow this weather reports, and they have this weather icons on their phones as well. So we can do the same thing. We can promote real-time weather reporting. This will help people in cities like Mumbai and other cities. If they know that they are going to face heavy rainfall in next 2 or 3 days, then they can plan accordingly. They can stay home and do work from home. They can avoid unnecessary traveling and things. And it will help farmers as well. This will be useful for our people, not just in monsoon time, but in summertime as well, because every year we have these heat waves, and heat waves, they kill so many people every year in our country. So if we know that we are going to face heat waves in next 2 or 3 days, and if we can have a proper data like between 12 p.m. till let's say 7 p.m. we are going to face heat wave, then people can avoid outdoor activities. Government or local government can restrict outdoor activities, and people can stay indoors, and then you can do your outdoor work in the night time, or in the evening time, or in the morning time. So this will give us this flexibility. So smart cities are good, but we need to create smart culture and smart people as well, isn't it? With this, dear friends, I would like to request all of you to please make sure that you share this lecture with other students on regular basis. And if you learn something from today's discussion, then hit the like button, and please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have already done it, then please inform 3 more students about StudyIQ and let them decide if they want to subscribe to our. I'm sure if they follow our channel for a few days, they will definitely hit the subscribe button. Now, Rajapakshas do it again. This article is written by G. Parthasarathi. He is Chancellor of Jammu Central University, and he has been a former High Commissioner to Pakistan as well. To be honest, I am a big fan of G. Parthasarathi sir, because I have read so many articles written by him, and I have been following his articles since last 6-7 years now. Not 6-7 years, it's been nearly 5 years, to be honest. 5 years. Since 2015 I'm following his articles. And the most interesting thing about his article is that they are easy to understand. They are full of knowledge, but they are in simple language. Anyone can understand his articles. So whenever you find G. Parthasarathi's article, make sure you take out a few minutes and go through it. Now, this article is about India and Sri Lanka. It's about Sri Lanka. It starts with this thing that recently parliamentary elections took place in Sri Lanka, and Sri Lankan democracy, it looks like it's maturing. They have done it very well. Even S.Y. Qureshi is one of the most famous former chief election commissioner of our country. He has also praised Sri Lanka's efforts to conduct this latest parliamentary election amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Sri Lanka did a meticulous rehearsing. Strict limitations on attendance were followed. Masks, gloves, sanitizers, social distancing, everything was enforced properly. Everyone followed this thing properly as well. And the good thing is that a liberal use of postal ballots was also allowed. So these efforts have created a remarkable turnout of 71%, and this is a sign of maturing democracy as well as a fair and free election. And it's a good news for South Asia in general. Now, what has also been lauded is the meticulous and disciplined manner in which Sri Lanka has just handled the challenges of the pandemic, with just 11 deaths from among 2,900 confirmed cases. So Sri Lanka is doing quite well as far as COVID-19 is concerned. The latest result is in favor of Rajapaksa brothers. They have won 145 seats out of 225 seats. And at present, India has kept itself away from internal developments of Sri Lanka. There was a time when we used to interfere with internal affairs of Sri Lanka, but now we are standing at the periphery. We are helping them in terms of rehabilitation, relief, development, etc. But we are not interfering with their internal matters. And Prime Minister Modi has developed a very cordial, friendly relationship with the Rajapaksa brothers as well as SLFP. Indian High Commissioners have reached out to wide cross-section of leaders as well as political parties in Sri Lanka. So far things are good. This reminds us of past history of Sri Lanka and India. Ethnic conflict that took place in Sri Lanka. It lasted for a very long period of time. Like civilians, they lost their lives. 27,000 LTTE cadres, they lost their lives. 1,500 plus Indian soldiers. They made supreme sacrifice, and finally, and unfortunately, former Prime Minister of our country, Sri Rajiv Gandhiji, was also assassinated by LTTE leader. I'm sure you have watched a movie by, I'm not sure about the director, but the actor is John Abraham, Madras Cafe, right? A very interesting movie about this whole incident. And finally, Prabhakaran, who was the leader of LTTE, was killed by Sri Lankan army in 2009. And since then, Sri Lanka is treading on this road towards development. It is a developing country indeed. Now, New Delhi has since poured in huge assistance for relief, rehabilitation and development of Lankan Tamils, because they are, this cultural affiliation that we have with Lankan Tamils. After this 2009, after this group or this Prabhakaran was killed, then Western countries, particularly USA and UK, they imposed economic sanctions on Sri Lanka. And Sri Lankan leaders are not happy about this thing. So whenever they used to ask for any help from World Bank and other international organizations that were backed by Western world, these organizations, they used to impose some sort of geopolitical considerations, or in the sense they used to give them to-do list. What are the things that you need to do if you want this money from us, or if you need this aid from us? So this was too much for Sri Lanka. So this was an opportunity for China, because Western world were against the Sri Lankan regime. China started providing money to Sri Lanka. China started supporting Sri Lanka, and gradually Sri Lanka, it found itself apparently into this debt trap of Chinese way of colonization, giving money, and then when the project is not viable anymore, then China will take over your that particular city or that particular port or any other thing that China has developed. And something similar is going on in Pakistan, though Pakistan will never admit this thing. Ethiopia, Tanzania, Kenya, and there are so many other countries. They are, in this debt trap of China. Okay. As far as this Hambantota port is concerned, I'm sure you know things about Hambantota, so I'm not going into the details. Very briefly, China invested $7 billion in Hambantota, and China said that this is going to be a big thing for you. And, there are thousands of 10,000 plus sheep that they pass from Indian waters, and they will take a halt over here, and then you will make huge amount of money. But it was a big failure, and at present Hambantota is taken over by China for 99 years, and then China is parking its naval vessels and submarines, and same thing applies to Colombo port as well. India and Japan were ready to help Sri Lanka, but at that point of time Sri Lanka was not into it. Sri Lanka was not ready to get any help from these countries, and it was happy with China, but now Sri Lanka realizes that this was a big debt trap. It is best for Sri Lanka to work out its own solutions to its people's concern in Tamil-dominated northern as well as eastern provinces. I'm talking about this region here. So this region and this portion here, you have Tamil people living there. So first, as I told you, we used to interfere in it, but now we are not in for it. We are ready to support it in terms of relief and rehabilitation and giving money and other things. But we leave everything now on Sri Lankan government as well as Sri Lankan people. Right, this Tamil Sri Lankan are also part of Sri Lanka. So let them decide their future rather than interfering with Sri Lanka's internal operations. Modi has reached out personally to both Mahinda and Gotabaya Rajpaksh and New Delhi. The best thing as per G. Parthasarthi would be that New Delhi should consult USA and UK and other countries, and we should convince them that we need to help Sri Lanka. If we help Sri Lanka, if World Bank and other banks and other organizations, if we fund Sri Lanka, if we handhold Sri Lanka, then we can bring out Sri Lanka out of this China's debt trap, and we will have one more friend in our arsenal or in our team. And Sri Lanka is also part of Indian Ocean. So when it comes to Quad, it is important that we take or rope in or we consult with Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka should be a very good, important partner as far as this Quad is concerned. If it is not directly part of Quad, then as well we need to consult with Sri Lanka. So this is something that we need to do when it comes to India-Sri Lanka relationship. Then one thing that has acted as a bridge between people of Sri Lanka and India, and that is Buddhism. There are lakhs of people from Sri Lanka. They visit India every year. They visit various different parts of our country that are associated with Lord Buddha. So this is something that is very important for people-to-people contact. It is part of our culture. Cricket is common, Buddhism is common, and there are so many other things, food and so many other items that are common between these two countries. So we need to take it to next level. And last year we provided this intelligence input to the government of Sri Lanka, and we do share intelligence with Sri Lankan government regarding this ISIS and other terrorist activities. And this has created a sense of what do we say, a sense of friendship, or it has created this trust in the hearts and minds of people of Sri Lanka that India is genuinely concerned about the welfare of people of Sri Lanka. So these are some good things that we need to develop a bit further. This article ends with a very interesting fact. In voyages across Indian Ocean between 1405 and 1433, China's Admiral Zhang He abducted a king of Sri Lanka. His name was Veera Alkeshwara, and China even took holy tooth relic of Lord Buddha. China returned this relic after some 5 centuries. So these are some dark spots as far as China and Sri Lanka's relationships are concerned. Okay, now let's move on to next topic, data power. This topic we have discussed it yesterday itself, so I'm not going into the details. I'm not going to repeat the things that we have discussed yesterday. As we all know that the latest Wall Street Journal report on Facebook is out, and this report is saying that it looks like Facebook is favoring government of India at present, the ruling party, because the post of T. Raja Singh was not removed by Facebook. But if we find in other parts of the world, like there is a radio host called Alex Jones, so his something similar comments were removed by Facebook very quickly. The Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan's this sort of comments were also removed by Facebook. But Miss Ankhi Das, who is Facebook's public policy director in India, as per the report, she said to her colleagues that punishing violations by politicians from Mr. Modi's party or ruling party would affect the company's business prospects in the country, and this is very bad. This indicates that there is an unholy nexus between those companies that have this power to influence millions of people and those people who are in power. This reminds us about Cambridge Analytica. Remember Cambridge Analytica? This is a company that used to run the surveys. That it used to provide some games, online games, and then you play this game, you fill up a survey, and then you can play this game. And this data was collected, and this data was processed, and then this data was sold to political parties, and this was used for political campaigning and things. Everything was illegal. And so this whole thing reminds us that there is a nexus, and if there is a nexus, then that is a very sad thing, right? That is bad for democracy, that is bad for democratic values. And the only thing that we need to do is we need to rein this sort of companies, we need to control this sort of companies, right? They have grown this big using our own data. But now we need to check that if they are misusing our data, then we need to take proper action on them, and there should be a full-fledged inquiry on this thing. Then we have another article. We are going to be it's going to be a very brief discussion as far as this PM CARES is concerned. There are demands for PM CARES fund scrutiny. Supreme Court has rejected this thing. Supreme Court has said that the money is not provided by the government. It is people's money. People have it's their decision that they have given their money for the development of our country or for PM CARES. So because this fund is not supported, in the sense the money government is not injecting its money in it, so there cannot be any CAG audit on it. That's what a Supreme Court has said, right, in this case, and Supreme Court has rejected this writ petition. But there are a few questions, right, that we need to ask. The first thing is that Prime Minister is its ex officio chairman, and 3 cabinet ministers are its trustee, and even the Ministry of Corporate Affairs has also treated it as a fund set up by the central government. So how it is not part of the government? That's a question. Second thing is that so many people, those people working with the government, they have their salary, 1 day salary, and so many people's single day salary or 2 day salary has been deducted and transferred into this fund. We find this complaint as well. Many people have said that they have not given any consent, but then as well their salary was chopped. Many public sector units as well as corporate entities too have made donations because of proviso allowing uncapped corporate donations that would qualify as corporate social responsibility expenditure. So all these things are enough. I'm not saying that there should be CAG audit on it, but there should be some sort of information available to the public about it, right? Via RTI or government should come out and government should publish it. At least some sort of information, some basic information, like how much money you got and how you are spending this money. Because every one of us has contributed. But Supreme Court has said that there cannot be any CAG audit, so that's going to be final. But now it's government's call. The ball is in government's court. Government should decide whether what it think is right. And I think the right thing would be to share the data and tell the people what is going on with PM CARES fund. That's my personal opinion. This article, China-Russia ties as a major determinant. This article is written by Vijay Gokhale. He's been former foreign secretary of our country, and on surface level it looks like Russia and China are like all-weather friend. If you see this statement of Xi Jinping back in 2019, June 2019 precisely, he said that Vladimir Putin is my best friend and colleague. So question number 1, is there a formal alliance between China and Russia? What it could mean for the rest of the world? What about India? What about America? Right? If China and Russia are coming together, remember they are UNSC permanent members, they have veto powers and they are neighbors. But what we need to do is, as far as India is concerned, we need to appraise this relationship. We need to see what's going on at surface level and what's going on at core level. At core level, are they good friends? Right? Are there any conflict of interest? Are there some loopholes? Are there some dark spots when it comes to China-Russia relationship? And this article is important from that point of view. The 3 pillars on which the SINO, that is China-Russian partnership, currently rests are a peaceful boundary, expanding trade, and shared distrust of American intentions. Western sanctions, just like Sri Lanka, Western sanctions have tended Russia to come closer to China. And China, for China, it's an opportunity that if Western world is against Russia, then China will become a friend, because enemy is friend. So same thing goes here as well. Now for Russia, China is important because on one side we find that oil prices are falling down. On the other side, Nord Stream 2, pipeline that is connecting Russia with Germany and then rest of the Europe. So anytime you can find new sanctions on it, and if new sanctions are applied on it, then Russia will lose a big market. So China is an alternative market. China-Russia trade has more than doubled to $108 billion. Russia's central bank has increased its Chinese currency reserves from less than 1% to over 13%. China has surpassed Germany as the principal supplier of industrial plant and technology. But at surface level, things look very good. But when it comes to these three pillars that we have just discussed, when we dig a little bit deeper, we find that things are not that right always. First of all, let's talk about boundary or peaceful boundary. In 2016, Vice Foreign Minister Fu Ying of China said that China's rise has produced discomfort among Russian. Point number one, very important point. Second point is that there are so many people in China, they are not happy about this fact that during Tsarist Russia, Russia has annexed some 6 lakh square miles of Chinese territory, and this territory is with Russia at present. As far as Russia is concerned, this is point number 3. There are so many Chinese people, they have migrated to Far East Russia, and in future when this Chinese migrant population will be dominant here, then they can demand for a referendum, and they can ask to give up this area and make this area part of China. So this is a long-term thing that Russia is worried about as well. As far as trade relationship is concerned, at present things are in favor of Russia, but the amount is very nominal as far as this trade surplus is concerned. Russia is providing raw material like oil and gas in big quantity to China. China is providing higher technological level products. Earlier on, China used to provide labor intensive goods, but this has declined, and higher technological level or technology level goods are the biggest supplies that are coming into Russia from China. So in future, it would be a one-way street that Russia would be buying more things from China rather than a bilateral trade. Then we have this power of Serbia as well. I would like to show you this thing, right? This is a long-term plan, and this is going on as well. There is this power of Russia pipeline 1, then you have pipeline 2. There are operating gas pipeline and projected gas pipeline on your screen. So of course you can download the PDF and then you can go through it in detail. But basically Russia is supplying huge amount of gas to China, but then we will see green energy. So this is something that after maybe 10 years, 15 years, this will be of no use, maybe. As far as dislike of Washington is concerned, yes, both nations, Russia and China, for them, USA is a big threat as well as enemy. But that does not mean that they are heart to heart, or their long-term meeting of minds is something that we find missing. Like as far as let's talk about S-400 missile, right? Defense relationship. Russia is going to supply this defense technology, S-400 missile, to China. But China is getting more and more self-reliant, and China is producing more defense products indigenously. So in future, it will not be a big customer of Russia. So Russia is in real danger of permanently becoming a junior partner of China, and this is something that Russia would not like to see. So at surface level things are good, but at core level things are not that attractive or great. And this is good news for India, because when it comes to India and Russia's relationship, our relationship is, without any conflict. We don't have any conflict with each other. Things are very smooth. We are generally speaking on a same page when it comes to geopolitics and other things. So this is a good sign. So we need to develop this relationship, and both countries should invest energy in developing this relationship. Moving on to the next item, ignore herd immunity. I want you guys to do a little bit of research on herd immunity on sero surveys. I'm going to give you a brief idea about what sero survey is all about, right? What happens is that, let's say if you are infected with coronavirus, and if a test is done, then they will collect this fluids from your mouth, from your nose, and then they will test it, and then they will tell you whether you are infected or not. And if you are not, then you are okay. If you are infected, then your fluids will tell you that you are infected. But there are so many people asymptomatic in our country. So there are so many people, let's say just imagine that one person who got infected with coronavirus is asymptomatic, and after a few days he's okay now, no sort of fever, no headache, nothing, right? He's smooth, his life is going on well. But when you do serosurvey, then you find that his body has developed antibodies. So how it works is that when we are infected, our body develops IgG antibodies, and these antibodies, they stay in our body, in our blood for a long period of time, more than a month, right? So when serosurveys are conducted in various different parts of our country, in Mumbai, in Pune, recently in Haryana, in Delhi, then we find that let's say in Mumbai, 57% means 57% population, that sample population, it was found that they had these antibodies in it, so they were either infected. But you cannot say for sure that they were definitely infected with coronavirus. So it is still a bit of gray area. Now, as far as herd immunity is concerned, the majority opinion is that when your total 60 to 70 population is affected with a particular virus, then you can have herd immunity. But India cannot take this big risk. So far, our 0.2% population is infected with coronavirus. That means 27.6 lakh people. And out of that, 53,000 people have died because of corona. So imagine 60-70% population of our country. We are talking about crores of people losing their lives. So we cannot, herd immunity is something that is not a strategic choice or option for our country, and that's what Health Ministry official has also said. What we need to do is we need to ramp up our medical infrastructure. Until we find a medicine, we need to conduct more testing, and saliva test approved by US FDA is an option that we need to implement here because it is speedy. Last one is about locals first. Nativism is a favorite strategy of politicians. When they are under pressure, when they cannot create more jobs, when economy is going down, they will come out with this sort of things that will stay in people's mind for a bit of time, and they will forget about their pains. That's what politicians do in various different parts of the world, and as well in our country too. So protectionism is defining economies around the world, as we know, Mr. Trump, for example, and other countries. Now, the reason why we are discussing this topic is because recently MP, that is Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan, he took a decision to give government jobs to locals only. This is not constitutional. The reason is, if you go through our constitution, it clearly says that you cannot discriminate. Our constitution specifically prohibits constitution. I beg your pardon, this is because of speed. So many articles, so many things to discuss. So that's why I'm having this slip of tongue. Anyway, I'll try again. The Constitution specifically prohibits discrimination based on place of birth, empowering Indians to live and work anywhere in the country. Article 16, so Article 2 says that no citizen shall, on grounds only of religion, race, caste, sex, descent, place of birth, residence, or any of them, be ineligible for or discriminated against in respect of any employment or office under state. So this is all rhetoric. Politicians, they know it very well that this is not going to cut the mustard in Supreme Court, right? Supreme Court or courts are going to reject this thing, but just to win that, political favor, or to sound like a hero or fatherly figure in this case, where CM Chauhan is saying that he's calling youngsters as children, so he's trying to act like a fatherly figure. Article 15 protects citizens against discrimination based on place of birth. Article 14 emphasizes the equality before the law irrespective of the place of birth. So Constitution has clearly defined that you cannot discriminate. State, that means government cannot discriminate with any person. Now, when it comes to labor, it's a very competitive choice, isn't it? If you want, let's say, a clerk for your office, then you will not search for a clerk who is local. Right? Of course, if someone is local, if he or she can come to your office on regular basis, that's going to be one thing. But you will find the best clerk. If you're paying, let's say, 25,000 salary, then you will pay that salary to the best person for the job. If he is, if he's a he or she, it doesn't matter, right? If it's a male or female candidate or transgender, if that person is coming from Jammu and Kashmir or in Kerala, it doesn't matter, right? You need the best person who can do the job. So it should be an individual's or a firm's choice, right? A firm can hire any person that a firm likes or that is a best fit rather than government dictating whom you should hire, right? So that's basically everything in today's discussion, dear friends. These are some news headlines that I want you guys to go through, and that's everything from my side. Thank you very much for watching this video. God bless you all. Jai Hind.